125, 9, 10, and thought provoker 1 and 2. So let's go over those. Alright, number 9. What unit is used to measure the amount of energy in food? Remember, that is the calorie with a capital C. And we'll talk about the reasons why later on. Alright, number 10. Define basal metabolic rate, or BMR. Alright, that's the lowest rate of metabolism, the amount of energy your body needs to function at rest. We'll talk more about that in just a little bit. Alright, number 1 for the thought provokers. Name one type of food that is a good source of both protein and calcium. Your textbook only lists off one. There's a couple of different other ones you could have also named, but the only one on your textbook list that is protein and calcium is yogurt. Alright, number 2. The body needs fluoride in small amounts to help strengthen the bones and keep the teeth cavity free. Fluoride is often added to drinking water, and in some locations it is naturally present in the groundwater as it dissolves out of rocks. What type of nutrient is fluoride? You also have fluoride in a lot of cases your toothpaste, or whenever you go to the dentist. In some cases they make you brush with a special toothpaste to put fluoride on your teeth, or they might paint it on your teeth, depending on how your dentist does it. So what do we call fluoride? Because it's something that you need, but it's not living, it's not alive. What do we call that? A mineral. Perfect. Alright, for your classwork, I'm going to go back a little bit. So we introduced the chapter 4 yesterday. So I want you to read pages 160. Well, not really read, but go through and find all of the bold terms. Now there's several italicized words that you need to know, but just for your classwork for today, we're going to focus just on the bold terms. So pages 116, and then a little bit into your reading for today. So the reading that you did last night. So 116 through 120, I want you to copy down the bold terms and their definitions 3 times. So there's not that many, honestly. So page 116 through 120, so 116 through 120, the bold terms and definitions, copy them down 3 times. Again, it'll take you maybe 5-10 minutes. You should know this by this point, so don't spend too long on it. So go ahead and pause the video and then come back whenever you're done. Alright, assuming that you're still watching this, that means you've already finished it. So let's go ahead and let's go over it. I'm also going to start reviewing the italicized portions that you need to know as well. So you should have copied down the bold terms, but I'm going to ask questions going over the italicized words as well. Alright, whose responsibility is it as you get older to keep your body working correctly? Yours, exactly right. God gave you a body that functions properly. It's your job to make sure that it continues functioning that way. Alright, so what is the food group that includes sugars and starch? They're important sources of energy. Carbohydrates. Alright, so we have the simple carbohydrates. What's an example of a simple carbohydrate? There's one major word for it. Sucrose, good job, or sugars. So if you said sucrose like table sugar or glucose or fructose or lactose, that's fine. Make note that you want to just put sugar is the main one for it. So sugars, these are simple carbohydrates. What do you call a polysaccharide, a long chain of glucose hooked together? A polysaccharide, perfect. How much of your diet should come from carbohydrates? 2/3, perfect. Alright, what is a polysaccharide, but you cannot digest it? You need to eat this type of carbohydrate, but it cleans out your intestines and it helps you to not get colon cancer. Fiber, good job. Alright, what are the building blocks of proteins? Amino acids. What type of nutrient is used to build and repair the body cells? Proteins, that's it. Alright, so fat is what type of molecule or what type of nutrient? Starts with an L, it's a little bit harder. A lipid, good job. There are 3 different types of fat, some that your textbook talks about. What is the one you should avoid at all costs? It's really bad for you. Trans fat. What's the one that's typically a solid at room temperature? It has as many hydrogen as possible shoved onto it, so it's completely full of hydrogen, if you want to think of it that way. Typically it comes from animal fat like bacon fat or Crisco or lard. So what do we call that type of fat? Saturated. What's the one that isn't full of hydrogen all the way? It still has some spots for hydrogen to be added onto, but it's typically a liquid at room temperature. So it's like oils, but what do we call it? Unsaturated fat. Good job. Alright, what is the lipid that your body needs but in small amounts? So your textbook points out it's a lipid, but it's not a fat technically. Cholesterol, good job. Alright, let's see, started talking about the vitamins yesterday. So what what do the different vitamins need to do, or what do they do? You should note these. You might know they weren't bold this morning, but make sure that you go over them. Which vitamin is responsible for good eyesight? Also healthy skin, normal growth, but good eyesight doesn't mean we associate with it. Vitamin A, which one helps out your immune system? It also helps out with strong bones and teeth, helps out with fatigue and allergies. It does a bunch of stuff we associate with your immune system. Vitamin C. Alright, what are the group of vitamins that change food into energy? They're also responsible to help out with metabolism, maintenance of teeth, gums, and blood vessels. So it's the B complex vitamins. Good job for that. I think that's as far as we got yesterday. I don't think we made it farther than that. But make sure that you are studying properly and that you're going through it and you're spending a little bit of time each night, not just during class time, but you're still studying and you're still reviewing over your terms, even though we don't have that many yet. Alright, let's go ahead and let's get into it then. This is the same chart that we have from yesterday. So remember, vitamins, they come from living things. So that's the important thing to note about vitamins. Alright, vitamin A, we've already talked about. Vitamin C, the B complex vitamins. I don't think we made it to vitamin D yet. So go take out your textbook or a piece of paper, so that way whatever you're using, you take good notes on. And let's go ahead and let's get back into it. Alright, vitamin D. You need vitamin D to absorb calcium. Even if you drink a whole lot of calcium, if you don't have vitamin D, your body has a hard time absorbing it. Now remember, what do you use calcium for? Right, to make strong bones in your teeth. So if you have calcium, but your body can't absorb it, it just passes through you. And so because of that, it'll affect your bones if you don't get enough vitamin D. Now, thankfully, you have special processes in your skin that can use sunlight to make vitamin D. So your book points out vitamin D is called the sunshine vitamin because your body is designed to basically get most of it from sunlight that way. So if you're just outside exercising or outside during PE, chances are you're getting enough vitamin D just from being out and about in that period of time. But sometimes you might need to get a little bit of extra vitamin D. This is one reason why your mom or dad might buy fortified milk. That means it has vitamin D added to it. So that way, as you're drinking your milk, you're getting the vitamin D that you need. So that way, your body can help absorb it. If you don't get enough vitamin D, you can get a disease called rickets. So, your book points out rickets is whenever the bones soften and they eventually bend, causing irregular growth and deformities in children. It's because your body, even though you're drinking calcium, your body can't absorb it. And so because of that, it starts to affect your bones. Instead of your bones being sturdy, they start to bend and curve. And so it's not supposed to be like that. So that's how come your book's pointing out that rickets is associated with vitamin D because your body can't absorb the calcium properly. So make a note of that. So vitamin D, it can cause rickets. Vitamin D is called the sunshine vitamin. You can also get it from fatty fish, liver, egg yolks. These also are a good source of vitamin D. Or your parents just might buy fortified milk where it already has vitamin D. Or you can just go outside. All of those work to get your vitamin D. So that's another reason to go outside and play, is so that way you can get some good sunlight and get some good vitamin D. Alright, vitamin E. This helps protect cells from damage and maintain proper immune function. It is found in many foods, including vegetable oils, wheat germ, whole grain breads, cereals, nuts, seeds, long list, egg yolk, liver, bean sprouts, and dark green vegetables. So vitamin E, making up for this one, helps out with your immune system in particular again. So remember, we've already talked about one that helps out with your immune system. What's another vitamin that helps out with your immune system besides vitamin E? Vitamin C. Good job. So just make a note for this one. So it helps protect cells from damage and helps maintain proper immune function. Vitamin K, this one's important for blood clotting. Now remember, what happens if your blood doesn't clot? If you get a cut, let's say on the back of your arm, and you start to lose fluid, what will eventually happen if you lose too much fluid? Right, you can pass out and die. And so because of that, your body is supposed to clot or use those platelets to clot it up. If you don't have enough vitamin K, that can also affect it to where your body has a hard time clotting. So make a note for that. So vitamin K plays a vital role in blood clotting. So it can cause excessive bleeding from small cuts and scrapes. What do we call that condition to where sometimes people have this genetic condition? Now this isn't quite the same thing, but it's similar to it. Whenever their blood doesn't clot well. You know? Textbook doesn't talk about this yet. Hemophilia. That's whenever they have a special condition to where they don't, to where their blood doesn't clot very well. So this is not hemophilia because this is a lack of vitamin K, but it's the same idea to where if you get a cut, your body has a hard time stopping it. So because of that, you can lose too much blood and then you can pass out and die from it. So make sure you're getting vitamin K. Your book points out vitamin K is produced by bacteria in the intestines. So eating yogurt can help your body make this vitamin. You can also eat dark leafy green vegetables. These are an excellent source of vitamin K as well. So eat fruits and vegetables. That's the main idea of all your vitamins and then minerals later on. Eat your fruits and vegetables. It'll help you to get all of your vitamins that you need. Alright, minerals is slightly different. Minerals come from non-living things. So this is something like on the periodic table. You can't see it because of how the camera is angled, but I have a periodic table off to the side in my room. That lists a lot of the elements that we find in nature. Now that's what a lot of the minerals are. A lot of them are elements or solid, non-living things we find in nature. Some of these you might notice as metals, like you need iron. That doesn't mean go out and start eating iron screws or start going out and chewing on an iron fence. That's not what it means at all. You need a little bit of iron in a small amount. So if you're taking your vitamins, or if you're taking like the vitamins in the morning, and a lot of cases they have the minerals mixed in with them to where it has both of them at the same time. We say vitamins and we call them vitamins. Typically, it's vitamins and minerals together on the inside of it. But these are non-living materials like the rocks of the earth. So we find these out in nature. Now you need these in small amounts, so not a lot, but you do need them. Alright. The major one is calcium. Alright, what does calcium do? We've already talked about this today. Right, calcium promotes strong bones and teeth. It's also needed in your blood and for muscle contraction. It can be obtained by eating milk products or dark green leafy vegetables. So again, we associate calcium with milk, but if you're lactose intolerant, like how I am, you can't drink a lot of milk. So you have to find a different way to get your calcium. So I eat a lot of salads, I'll eat a lot of other foods that have calcium on the inside of it. So, to make a note for this, calcium promotes strong bones and teeth, and you can get it from milk, but you can also get it from other things as well, in case you're lactose intolerant. If you don't get enough calcium though, your body knows how much you need it, not just for your bones, but in your blood and for muscle contraction. And so because of that, if you don't get enough calcium, your body will start to pull it out of your bones because it needs it. This is one of the reasons why you might know someone that has osteoporosis. That means to where their bones aren't as strong as what they should be. In a lot of cases, that's sped up, or that process is sped up because they're not getting enough calcium. So their body is literally taking it out of their bones and using it because your body has to have it, and your body knows you store calcium in your bones. So it'll go through and take it out if it needs it. That's what we want to make sure you're drinking calcium or getting some type of calcium, either drinking it from milk or getting it in some way to make sure your body has enough calcium, because your body will steal it from your bones if it doesn't get enough. Since I'm lactose intolerant, I have to make sure I get calcium from other sources so that way I don't get osteoporosis. Alright, make a note for that. So calcium promotes strong bones and is needed in your blood and for muscle contraction. Potassium is another mineral that you need. Let's see. So making up with potassium, it helps muscles to move contractly, and it maintains the water balance of your body's cells. Potassium also has a partner that it works with muscle contraction. Your book doesn't talk about this one. Potassium works with sodium. So we'll talk a little bit about sodium, even though it's not technically in your book, and that's okay. So potassium, this helps muscles move correctly and maintains the water balance of the body's cells. Now, where do we typically get potassium from? There's one fruit we associate with potassium. You probably said bananas, because that's the main one we associate with it. There's other sources to get potassium, but bananas is a main one. So your book points out that it's found in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, lean meats. So there's a lot of things that we associate potassium in particular with bananas, because it helps out and it has a lot of potassium on the inside of a banana. That's one reason why if you're getting a lot of muscle cramps, or if you're waking up in the middle of the night with a Charlie horse or with that muscle cramp, that's one reason why your parents or your mom might tell you to go eat some bananas in the morning for breakfast, or to go eat banana chips, because it's to help out with those muscle cramps, to help your body, since it helps out with muscle coordination and it helps out with the water balance of your body cells. That's one of the reasons why if you're not getting enough potassium, you can start to get muscle cramps, because it helps out with both. So it helps out with your muscles and it helps out with your water balance. Now, your book doesn't talk about sodium because where do you get most of your sodium from as an American? Think of it this way, we get it in the form of sodium chloride. Do you know what sodium chloride is? Table salt. And so in America, we put a lot of salt on a lot of different foods, so you don't have to go out and eat sodium on purpose. In America, you're going to get enough sodium. You're going to get probably too much sodium. And so because of that, sodium and potassium, they work together with your muscle coordination, with your muscle cells. So you have to work to eat potassium on purpose. But in America, you're going to eat sodium because of how much salt we put in our foods, and you don't have to worry about trying to get sodium. You're going to get it if you live in America. So just make a note for that, though, that potassium is the main one your book talks about. You do need sodium with it, but in America, you're getting plenty of sodium, so you don't have to worry about it. All right, iron is the next one. Iron is a nutrient found in lean meats, egg yolks, whole grains, dried fruits, and it enables the blood to carry oxygen in the body. We've already talked about that. What's that part of the red blood cells that carries the oxygen? It started with an H in the previous chapter. Hemoglobin, that's it. So, iron helps out with the hemoglobin. Now, iron is vital. If your book points out, it is a trace element. That means it's very, 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 very small amount. Now, even though you might think, oh, my mom and dad has iron screws at the house, or you might know where there's some bits of iron. That doesn't mean go up and start just like gnawing on them and trying to eat them. Not the same thing. Your parents will look at you like you're really weird. Don't do that. It means, though, you need it in a very small amount. It's to help out with your blood, but at the same time, it's just a small amount. So if you're eating your fruits and vegetables like you're supposed to, you're probably going to get enough iron so that you don't have to worry about it. So just make a note, though, iron, it is vital, but you only need it in a small amount. You can get it from, let's see, I can't read the list from that far away. So lean meats, egg yolks, whole grains, dried fruits. So it helps out with so you can get it from a bunch of different sources. Your book points out other trace elements include copper, chromium, iodine, manganese, and zinc. So you'll find these in a lot of pages on the inside of your vitamins if you take a vitamin in the morning. Again, we call them vitamins. Typically it's vitamins and minerals together on the inside of it. So again, you use it in a small amount. So you don't have to go out and eat whole chunks of these metals or minerals technically, but you just need them in a small, itty-bitty amount. All right, so the brain back really quick. As a preteen or young teenager, you need about 1,300 milligrams of calcium daily. This is equivalent to about 3.5 8-ounce glasses of milk each day. That doesn't mean you have to drink 3.5 cups of milk. It just means you want to get that much amount of calcium. So if you drink milk in the morning, and then you eat yogurt for lunch, or have yogurt as like a side portion of your lunch, and then maybe you get ice cream later on, or you eat cheese throughout the day, you want to eat that much amount of calcium. So it doesn't mean you have to drink this much milk. It's just the idea of, okay, this is how much milk, if you want to get the proper amount of calcium, here's how much you should drink. But you can get calcium from other sources, so don't think, that's a lot of milk, I have to drink that every single day. No, but it's the idea of, okay, you want to make sure you get enough calcium. You can get calcium from other food sources like cheese, macaroni and cheese. You can get it from yogurt, ice cream, different things like that. So that's what it says, to make sure you're trying to get this much calcium. You don't have to get it from just milk. You can get it from other sources though. Alright, so your book has this awesome charts on page 119. I would probably mark those charts because they're a good source of information all at once. So as you're studying, getting ready for quizzes and tests, this is a good chart to be studying because it has a lot of your information all together. It talks about your carbohydrates, your fiber, protein, fats. So it talks about those 4 major areas. Then it also talks about your vitamins and your minerals. This is the slide or the chart that's at the top of the page. I know you probably can't read it really well because of how the screen is. Make a note though that it has everything on this chart we pretty much talked about. So the 4 major nutrients: carbohydrates, fiber, protein, and fats. Your vitamins A, C, the B complex vitamins, D, E, and K, and then the 3 minerals your book talks about. So calcium, potassium, and iron. Alright, so just make note though that these charts are really, really, really good to know. You in particular want to know what they do, the function. So like carbohydrates, an important source of energy for the body. For vitamin A, it promotes normal growth, good eyesight, and healthy skin. So different things like that. That's what you want to focus on. So this chart will help you out greatly. All three of them, page 119. I would recommend that you study this and that you mark these to help you study. All right, next page. Water. You need to drink a lot of it. Your book basically says the same thing. Now, you want to drink typically at least 6 glasses of water a day. 8 is better, but you want to drink a lot of water. Why do you need water? Well, you'll die if you won't have it. I know someone probably said that. But you want to make sure that you're drinking it, because remember, depending on where the water is at on the inside of your body, that liquid portion, we call it a different name. What do you call the liquid portion of your blood? Plasma. What do you call the liquid portion that's surrounded on the inside of your body cells? Tissue fluid. What if it's in your lymphatic system? Lymph. So again, all that liquid portion comes from typically water. So you have to have water on the inside of your body. So if you don't drink enough water, what condition are you going to get? Death is not a condition, that's a state of being. So what's going to happen? What medical condition are you going to get if you don't drink enough water? You probably said dehydration, or you could get a heat stroke, and then you could die from it. So that's probably the reason why you need to drink water. Lots and lots and lots of water. So you can put that fluid back on the inside. Even if you think, but Miss Morris, I'm sitting around at home doing nothing, playing video games and watching my videos. Hopefully you're watching your videos. Then, but even though you're not doing anything super strenuous, you're still carrying on metabolism, your life processes. You're still sweating. And so because of that, you're still going to have your body lose fluids. And so you need to make sure you're putting fluids back into it. So if you realize now that you want to go pause the video and go get some water, pause the video and go get some water, because you need it and you need to drink it. Alright, so just make a note though that drink more water in hot weather though, whenever you are participating in sports or other strenuous activities. Even if you're just sitting around at home, you still need to drink it. But if you're exercising, or if it's really hot outside, you need to drink more water, because your body's losing more fluids at that point. So if you're doing strenuous activity, or if you're playing around outside and it's warm or kind of hot, you need to make sure you're drinking more. Whenever you're thirsty, you want to drink plain water. Don't just drink coffee or tea or soda or fruit juice or whatever it is you have at the house, Gatorade. Make sure you're drinking just water. Those liquids are good, and they have some liquids, but because they have other stuff on the inside, they're not as good for your body. And so you are drinking a liquid, but water is best for you. So your book points out that they contain water, but they're not good for your body. We don't talk about it a lot in this class, but because of osmosis and how water works on the inside of your body, if you drink something that has just caffeine, it can actually make you lose more water because it forces your body to go to the bathroom. So your book points out drinks containing caffeine like soda, coffee, and tea cause the body to lose water. That's because it has stuff on the inside of it to make your body basically get rid of extra water. So that's part of the reason why you don't want to drink just soda whenever you're thirsty. You need to drink good water. I know it makes you feel better, it makes you feel not as thirsty, but you need to drink just water, and to make sure you're drinking enough of that water. Now, you can drink soda, it's okay, but if you're thirsty or if you're starting to get dehydrated, you don't want to drink just Gatorade or just soda or just juice. You want to make sure that you're drinking water, just water, to help your body put that fluids back on the inside of it. Alright, so make a note, water, make sure you're drinking plenty of it. Oops, wrong direction. Alright, a balanced diet. Your book starts talking about kind of switching gears a little bit for it. Now, the first thing the book talks about is the calorie with a capital C. This is different from calorie with lowercase c. So a calorie, this is an example of food energy. This is how we measure it typically. So food energy is usually measured with a unit called calorie. Kind of how like your weight, whenever you're talking about how much you weigh, typically we describe it in ounces or pounds. So whenever we're talking about food energy, we use capital C or calorie. You might know from math class already what 1,000 calories is, what this prefix is, or what this K stands for. Do you know what that K stands for? Kilo. Good job. So your book points out calorie with a capital C technically is 1,000 calories. That's what kilo stands for. So even though we refer to it as 1 calorie with capital C, technically it's 1,000 little c calories. Your book points out that the lowercase c That is sometimes used, that is sometimes used in chemistry and physics. So if you're talking about lowercase c calorie, you're going to use this maybe a little bit in chemistry and physics. We don't use it a lot in how I teach chemistry. We have maybe a couple of sections on it and that's it. But we use in food and in nutrition and in health, we use capital C, the kilocalorie version, much more. So just make a note though that whenever you write these on quizzes and tests, you want to make sure that it's capital C. Because if it's not capital C calorie, you mean the lowercase c calorie, and that's not right. So make sure that if you're going to write out calorie like this, you're going to make sure it's capital C. If you want to write out kilocalorie, okay, that's another name for it. But make sure that you recognize it on quizzes and tests. Capital C calorie, that's the one that you want to know. So be careful for that. Alright, your book points out that technically fat is a better source of calories than just carbohydrates. Now remember, fats though, you got to be careful because there's 3 different types of fats. What are the 3 different types of fats? Saturated fats, unsaturated fats, trans fats. So there's not a lot of other nutrients in a fat molecule besides just the energy. That's how come we don't go around just eating fat. Even though it has a lot of calories, it has a lot of energy, there's not a lot of other nutrients. That's how come you want to eat more of bread or protein instead, because they give you calories, then they also give you other nutrients instead as well. So your book points out that 1 gram of fat provides about 9 calories, capital C, of energy, while 1 gram of carbohydrate or protein provides only about 4 calories. So again, you get more energy from fat, but you're not getting a lot of other nutrients. So it's one of those, what do I need? Do I need just energy, or do I need nutrients plus energy? You need nutrients plus energy. That's how come you don't want to eat just fatty foods. It's bad for you in the long run. And that's how come your book's pointing out a food that is fried in oil or fat almost always has a higher energy content than the same food would be if it was baked, broiled, steamed, or grilled. In the United States, because so much of our food already has fat on the inside of it, typically you don't have to worry about adding in extra fat. Typically, that's probably the reason why your mom might not fry foods a lot. She might steam them or boil them instead, because she's trying to get rid of the fat. She doesn't want to use as much fat on it because she knows you already get enough calories. Alright, so your book is talking about your basal metabolic rate. Now, this refers to your metabolism at rest. Now remember, what's metabolism? We have talked about this a lot. Remember, metabolism is the sum of all of your body activities. Your basal metabolic rate, think of it as kind of like the bottom line or the basic part. So it's the basal metabolic rate, or the BMR as you see it abbreviated that way in your book. That stands for whenever you're at rest or whenever you're just sitting there. Probably how you're doing it right now, whenever you're just sitting at your table or at your chair. Hopefully you're listening to me, so that you have some mental activity going on. But if you're just sitting in your room, you're just staring at the ceiling, or staring at the wall, or staring out the window, or just not paying attention to me, then that's the idea of the basal metabolic rate. That's whenever your body's activities, or some of your body activities is at rest. You're not really doing anything. So your basal metabolic rate, this is your lowest rate of metabolism. This is the amount of energy your body needs to function at rest. Now, whenever you're thinking about school or solving math problems or doing something mentally, your brain is working, and so because of that, it starts to use a little bit more energy. Or if you're outside playing, or if you're playing a video game, because you're focused on what the video game is doing, you are using mental activity, but then you're also playing it as well with your hands. And so because of that, you're using your body. So the idea of your basal metabolic rate, it means that's your basic rate of metabolism whenever you're at rest. So be careful for that. So basal metabolic rate. There are 2 primary ways you get this. So it's inherited. So sometimes in your genes or in your DNA, like how we already talked about previously with DNA and how you get it. Then sometimes your basal metabolic rate might just be faster or slower than someone else, just because of the genes you've inherited, the DNA that you got. And then sometimes it's based on body and composition. Your book points out that people with more muscle and less fat typically have a higher basal metabolic rate, and that's okay, that's not a problem. So your book points out that exercise can build muscle can actually increase your basal metabolic rate. So having a higher basal metabolic rate isn't a bad thing. So now again, your book just points out sometimes you just inherit this, so don't worry about well, how fast is my metabolism or how slow is it with my basal metabolic rate? If yours is faster, then that's okay. If it's slower, it's okay as well, because part of that is inherited and part of it is body composition. Typically, people want a faster metabolic rate, so if you decide, maybe I should exercise more to build it up, that's probably a good thing. Alright, your book points out as well though that your basal metabolism accounts for the expenditure of about 1 kilocalorie, or 1 capital C calorie, per minute, or about 1,400 calories per day. The more physically active you are though, the more energy you need, or the more calories that you need. Food labels, they base it off a 2,000 calorie diet. Based on your dietary needs, you might need more, you might need less, it just depends. Your book has the chart on page 120 showing you guys versus girls in particular, but then also showing you, okay, how active you are depends on how many calories you need. Young people, they need more calories than older people, because you are probably more active than your parents or than your grandparents for sure. And so because of that, your body needs more energy or more calories on the inside. Typically, young gentlemen and gentlemen need more than ladies. That's just how their bodies are designed, and that's okay. And then also people who are more active, because they're using more energy, they need more energy as well. So if you look at the chart on page 120, it shows it based on age as well. So 9 years old, most of you are probably not that age, but up to 14. And some of you might be getting close to 14, but probably not. Most of you are probably 11, 12, 13 years old, in that range for it. So find your gender and then find your age category. Now, it doesn't tell you inactive, fairly active, or active status. It doesn't tell you what do you have to do to be in that category. But if you're just sitting around at home all day watching your videos and playing video games, you're in the inactive category. So if you're going outside, exercising a little bit, maybe playing with your dog or with your pet outside, and maybe your siblings, you might be getting more into the fairly active category. If you like to play outside a lot, maybe you're involved in sports. Now I know with Corona right now, there's not a lot of sports, but if you like to go outside and at least practice to keep up your skills, and you're doing it every single day for a long time, maybe 30 minutes to an hour a day, then you're probably in the active category. So again, that's kind of give you a general ballpark range. So based on that, based on your age, your gender, and how active you are, you can look to see, okay, approximately how many calories do I need? You'll notice that the average is around 2,000. A young gentleman, you'll notice, typically needs more, or an active young lady needs more. But it's something where, okay, it's about 2,000 calories. As look on your food labels, base it on a 2,000 calorie diet. Alright, suggested servings really quick in this section as well. Alright, so you've probably seen this picture before in elementary whenever they're talking about the food groups and the health. So you'll also use it next year, some of you that are in 8th grade. We talked about this again in 9th grade health class specifically. So you probably recognize this already, and you recognize, oh, that's the My Plate. That's like the food pyramid. Technically, we don't use the food pyramid anymore, so we use this version of it, talking about the 5 different food groups. So you'll notice a couple things about it. You don't have to memorize this particular diagram. I'm just showing it to you. Your book talks about it on page 121, but you don't have to memorize this specific one for it. But you probably notice, okay, fruits and vegetables are supposed to make up half of your plate. So of the nutrients that you're eating, you want to make sure that you're eating fruits and vegetables. Now remember, we said previously that carbohydrates, that energy source, should make up 2/3 of your diet. You can get that from fruits and vegetables, not just bread. So that's part of the reason as to how come, if you're talking about your plate, you want half of it to be fruits and vegetables. So you want to eat a lot of fruit and a lot of vegetables. Now again, not just fruit, because fruits have a lot of sugars on the inside. But you want to eat a lot of fruits and a lot of vegetables. So of fruits and of vegetables, you want to eat more vegetables than fruits, but you want to make sure, try as much as possible to get half your plate to be fruits and vegetables. You also need grains, so remember that's like your carbohydrate specific food, so like breads, pasta, rice, things like that. Those are your grains in particular. Protein, that's your meat section, so that might be like sandwich meat, or it might be a hot dog. You're talking about just the meat portion of it. It might be fish or steak, so that's your protein section. And then There's your dairy section or your calcium section. Remember, dairy, you get a lot of your calcium from, but then also a lot of your vitamins and minerals as well. So your book's just talking through the different sections of it. So to mark in your book what you need to know for it. So make sure your book points out you should aim to eat daily from each of the 5 basic food groups. So do note the 5. You probably know them already, but just make a note of them. So fruits, vegetables, grains, protein, dairy. Fruits and vegetables should make up half your diet, so make a note for that. Grains, you want them to try to be whole grain as much as possible. I'll talk about the reasons why probably tomorrow whenever we're talking about looking at whole grain and what's the difference between whole grain and white flour. So there's a major difference between them. So grains, should make a note for that one. Protein foods you want to eat of as well. So meats, beans, eggs, dairy, milk, yogurt, and cheese. Your book points out support healthy bones and teeth. Now you'll notice that fat is not listed, even though fat is a major nutrient that you do need. It's because again, in America we eat so much fat already. You do not have to eat it on purpose. If you eat the basic food groups in America, you're going to be getting the fat that you need. So don't worry about it. You're going to get it, and it's going to be fine. All right. So your book points out foods like sugar that contain calories, but no essential nutrients should be avoided. You want to make sure you're not eating just sugar, because sugar gives you energy, but that's it. So you want to make sure you're getting proper carbohydrates, your vitamins, your minerals, and if you have a choice to eat bread or eat just a candy bar, you should try to go for the bread or the healthier choice. I know the candy bars taste really, really good, but just sugar is not good for your body long term. So added sugars give calories, but no added nutrients. So you want to make sure you're making a good, healthy decision and a good, healthy choice. I know candy bars and junk food taste really good, but all they do pretty much is taste really good and give you energy, calories, and that's it. They don't give your body anything else that you need. So your book points out one way to cut back on sugar intake is to drink water instead of soft drinks or fruit juice. You want to try to cut out sugar out of your diet as much as possible. Your book points out there's several health problems with sugar as well. Consuming too many sugary drinks, candy, and sweet desserts has negative effects on your body. It causes tooth decay or cavities. We'll talk about that later on. Contributes to diabetes. You can develop type 2 diabetes if you eat too much sugar. So just because you ate a candy bar or you ate maybe pancakes and waffles for breakfast doesn't mean you're going to get diabetes. But it's the idea of if you eat too much sugar all the time, you can. So because of that, you got to be careful. So your book also points out it suppresses the immune system and causes stress on your body's systems. So because of that, you want to stay away from sugar as much as possible. Sometimes on labels, they don't label it as sugar in and of itself. They give it in a different form. So that's because of that. They might describe it as dextrose, fructose, lactose, maltose, sucrose, corn syrup, molasses, or honey. So because of that, you want to look to see, okay, not just for sugar, you should look for other things and that you know are also sugar. You don't want to just eat those all the time. Alright, your book describes what's in your snack box activity, so you can actually do this one at home. This one's pretty fun. The major steps for it is basically you want to look at the nutrition label to see, okay, how much nutrients is on the inside of it. Okay, I think this might show up large enough on your camera. I was trying to make sure I picked large enough slides. So I think the next one's larger than this, but you might have to zoom in on it. Or you might recognize, hey, I have that peanut butter jar in the house. So you might want to pause and go get it, so that way you can look at your own label. This is just peanut butter. I believe this is the creamy one specifically, so you might know, we have this type in my house, or you might know, oh, maybe you have Peter Pan or some other brand of peanut butter. So that way, so you can go look at the label as well. So you'll notice with the nutrition facts that they label it based off a 2,000 calorie diet. So like for example, for this particular one, I think you can see it, but it says that the total fat is 16 grams for this particular serving of peanut butter. That's 25% of your totally calorie intake. So that's 1/4 of the total calories you're supposed to get throughout the day. That you're getting 1/4 of it just from peanut butter. So that's part of the reason as to how come people might watch their calories, because they know, okay, I need energy, but I want to make sure I'm making good choices to get nutrients plus the energy. I don't want to have too many calories. Looking at this, you'll also notice it has a lot of sodium. Now remember, that's salt. So because of that, you got to be careful for it. So it tells you on this label that it has 150 milligrams or 6% of your daily intake of calories. You're getting 6% of it through sodium. So your book's pointing out that, hey, I'm assuming the label's pointing out that, hey, there's a lot of sodium, so should you be eating this much? You also notice, though, on this label, if you can read it, dietary fiber, it has 2 grams. Now remember, what's fiber good for? Right, cleaning out your intestine. So you're getting 9% of your total fiber intake just from eating peanut butter. So you have to decide, okay, I need fiber, and I'm not getting it, and I'm not getting it through a lot of my other food today. So maybe I should eat some peanut butter. It has some other things that I don't need, like sodium, that I'm getting enough of. Maybe I should eat it because I need the fiber. You also notice the protein, it has 7 grams. That's a good, decent chunk of protein. So because of that, you might decide, okay, I'll eat some other things to balance out my other nutrients, but I need fiber and I need protein. So peanut butter would be a good choice for me. Alright, we're going to go ahead and stop here for right now because I know I'm just about out of time. I might have gone over just a little bit with your classwork. Alright, so your homework for tonight, read pages, oops, let me get my proper spot, hang on. Alright, read pages 125 through 128. So 125 through 128. Answer on page 125, the thought provoker number 3. And then on page 128, questions 1 through 3. So read pages 125 to 128. Answer on page 125, thought provoker number 3. And then on page 128, questions 1 through 3. Alright, don't forget the background paper is hopefully due Monday when y'all come back. So hopefully this is the last week of distance learning, and so it's due Monday. So make sure if you haven't been working on it, that you want to work on it because it's due Monday when y'all come back. Bye.